Hey guys, Zom Fox here, and today it's time to do my Week 8 game picks for the 2024 United Football League season. 2 weeks ago, we had an awesome rebound. This past week, probably the best week yet in terms of overall picks. Very few wrong, a couple pushes, but an overall insane week in getting picks right. So now we're heading into the final stretch. We basically already know the 4 playoff teams. It would take a miracle for DC to overtake San Antonio or St. Louis for that final spot in the XFL. So we pretty much do know what the teams are. So these next few weeks are more of a, how do these teams play and what are they playing for? Is it for pride? Is it to purposely screw over their opponent? And all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's go look at the Saturday games. Now the first game is between the Panthers and the Showboats. This one is going to be, -8 on the spread might be a bit generous for the Showboats. Granted, there's still the questions about the Panthers' injuries. Is Etling going to be at full strength? Especially considering how well Perkins played last week, it wouldn't be shocking if they put him as the QB2 and just have him as a backup. Then the over-under 47.5, not really too surprised. Memphis allows a ton of points. And then the money line being -455 for the Panthers, again, not surprising. Now, yes, the whole question is exactly how healthy will Etling be? He was healthy enough to not be put, out of the game last week, but he wasn't healthy enough to be starting. I wouldn't honestly be shocked if Nolan decides to start Bryce Perkins just to give Etling some rest since we're getting close to the postseason. But at the same time, the Panthers are still very much in the race for the 1 seed. If Birmingham slips up one time, that Week 10 game could be a huge game for Michigan to actually get into the 1 seed. But I think they win this game, and it's going to be pretty ugly. I think it's going to be 37-17. I think that the Showboats are able to put up 17 points. But the fact is the Panthers are just a better team. I mean, everybody's better than the Showboats, but I think that the Panthers do not score what the Renegades did due to the QB situation. But I think they do end up putting 37 points, so I do think they cover the spread and it hits the over. It's hard not to go with the over when we've seen multiple times with the Showboats where teams by themselves will basically hit the over. I mean, last week the over was like 45 or something, and Arlington hit that by themselves. So, yeah, again, the Showboats are just terrible. They're the worst team in the league. And finally, some people online and all that who have been basically kind of meat riding Memphis in a way by not putting them at 7 or not putting them at 8 the past few weeks, finally understand that, yes, the Showboats have been the worst team for the past few weeks and still are the worst team in the league. Until they win a game, they're the worst team in the league. They get blown up by basically everybody. Their 1 win was insanely fluky. Worst team in the league. Michigan should easily win this game. Now, the next game is the Roughnecks versus Stallions. This is interesting. Yes, Birmingham is plus 15.5, so massive favorite. Over-under is 43, bit surprising. And then, of course, Birmingham is -1,800, and Houston is plus 1,000. Houston has beaten Birmingham. Remember, this is the Gamblers from the past couple of years. They have beaten the Stallions 2 of the 3 times the Stallions have lost. They beat them once in 2022 in a very similar situation like this. Birmingham was 8-0 heading into Week 9, and then Houston gut-punched them with that final game-sealing interception to end their undefeated season. And then last year, they just got one up on them as well. So, a Houston upset would not be shocking. It really wouldn't. That being said, I still think Birmingham gets the W. I just think that Houston covers. Look, at the end of the day, this Houston offense is just pitiful. It is the single worst unit in the entire league. For how bad the Showboats are just a terrible team. The Roughnecks just have an offense that can't do anything. Again, they have not put up more than 20 points as an overall team, including defensive scores. So there's no way to say it's going to start now, so I think they only put up 16. But at the same token, when I look at Birmingham, I think this is going to be that off day. Again, we saw Adrian McCarron play not so great against the Roughnecks a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't be shocked if the Stallions have an off day offensively, which even for them is still going to be 28 points. So I do think this game hits the over, especially when you talk about Birmingham has been able to blow out multiple opponents in the past. I do think it hits the over. I just do think that Houston is able to cover. Though, as I said before, an upset would not be too shocking. But Stallions, come on. I got to go with them. They're fighting for the undefeated, and this is the game you have to win. People say the St. Louis game was the important one. No, that was a big deal, but the most important game for them to go undefeated was this game. Because again, the Gamblers did it to them 2 years ago. So they need to avenge that loss and beat them this time to actually stay claimed to being a potentially undefeated team. Now, what about the Sunday games? Well, the Sunday games are the ones that actually do matter for playoffs a lot more instead of just a 1 seed. It matters for everything. The Defenders versus Battlehawks. The Defenders are on their last legs trying to clinch a playoff spot. And the Renegades, Brahmas, the Brahmas are all but clinched at this point. So yes, both the Battlehawks and Brahmas still can be eliminated, technically. But essentially, for either of them, it's a lose out and DC win out kind of situation. So very, very slim chance it happens. But the DC game, DC is a plus 7.5. St. Louis is a 7.5 point favorite. The over/under is 44.5, and the money line is minus 410 for the Battlehawks. I wouldn't be shocked if this changed a lot since I recorded this and got all this, because AJ McCarron, it looks like he's not gonna play. He was like eliminated in practice, then did not participate, and they did sign another quarterback to be that probable third string guy. Even then, I still think the Battlehawks win this game pretty easily. Look, DC is just, I think they're done at this point. Look, they got obliterated at home, and yes, I know there's a good chance that they could try and, get some revenge by beating St. Louis in St. Louis. But even if this ends up being Manny Wilkins versus Jalen McClendon, and even though I'd give the QB edge to DC, the overall team is just so much better for St. Louis, especially considering Kelvin Harmon is out for the season. That was basically the best player DC has had this year on offense. And so without him, it's like, can this team really do anything? I think it hits the under as well. We're going to have two backup quarterbacks playing, and again, it's just one of those where all the recipe for a very boring type of game, backup quarterbacks playing, and even though McClendon is a very solid QB, when you're talking about him being on a team that has even less weapons than it already had with Te'amu, and again, Te'amu still might play, but McCarron, it looks like he won't play, so that's a big deal. But yes, again, overall, it's hard to not go with St. Louis here, especially after that loss last week, as a loss this week would really be a huge blow emotionally to the team, because then that's you still aren't, officially clinched type of thing. That's you blowing the 1 seed potentially to San Antonio. It's just a loss here could be that loss that derails the Battlehawks season. Last week's no, but this week, if they were to lose against DC, that could basically end their season right there in a metaphorical way. So now in terms of the next game, the Renegades versus Brahmas, this is the toughest one to pick. Look, San Antonio, when this came out, was a 3.5 point favorite. Over/under is 46, minus 185's money line. Now, we've heard reports. I don't believe the official depth chart has come out, but the official report suggests that Quentin Dormady is the starter. That is a horrid coaching decision by A.J. Smith and Wade Phillips, and just continues what I've said, that even though they've been very solid as a coaching staff and getting this team better than it was, they're still very disappointing in coaching. Look, this is like the Rob Johnson, I believe is who it was, Doug Flutie situation all over again for Wade. You can blame that on whoever you want to blame, the owner, GM, blah, blah, blah. The point is, 25 years ago, Doug Flutie had the Bills rolling. He was the reason that team was making it to the playoffs. And, again, you could put the blame on other people, but at the end of the day, Wade Phillips decided to bench Flutie for zero reason and put in a backup who was not that good, and it cost him a playoff win. I mean, yes, it was the Music City Miracle, crazy play, blah, blah, blah. They won that game with Flutie as the starter. It feels very reminiscent to that in this one. Dormady hasn't been bad. He has been horrid since coming into this season. Eliminate the first half against Michigan. Has he even looked good in a quarter? No, he hasn't. He looked terrible the second half against Michigan. He looked terrible the week after. He looked terrible the week after that. And then this past week, he got benched for a guy that doesn't know the system and immediately played better. Because the reasoning, again, this is from the report we've heard close to the Brahmas, is because Dormady knows the system better. So for knowing the system better, you'd expect him to be able to, move the ball farther than 10 yards downfield, right? Because when Kevin Hogan came in, who apparently has 0 reps with the team, was able to do that. I mean, it's just, sometimes coaches overthink things and try to think that they're smarter than they really are. This is one of those cases where the coaching staff is trying to, act like they're geniuses by putting Dormady back in, and it probably will fail. If it works, it's lucky. That's not good coaching, it's lucky at the end of the day. Because, again, Dormady has given you no reason to believe in him, because, again, he was overrated last year. This year, Garbers came in. Everybody was, including me, was like, why is Garbers the starter? Garbers proved everybody wrong. He was legit an MVP candidate. He gets hurt, Dormady comes in, immediately worse. And then he's gotten worse and worse and worse. Again, the reasons that Wade Phillips and A.J. Smith are putting Dormady as the starter is because he's supposedly been getting better, which he hasn't been. So, terrible decision if that's the case, and with that, I'm still picking the Brahmas to win this. I mean, it's just, the team understands the importance of this game. You need this win. You win this game, the odds of you missing the playoffs are less than 1%. If you lose this game and DC wins, that's very scary. But San Antonio knows they need this win. So I think they win it, but barely. I think it's going to be 22-20. I think that the Renegades do cover. It's going to be an under. I think that this is going to be another time where the Renegades offense struggles a little bit. Perez has been a top 3 quarterback this season, but last time he played San Antonio, the San Antonio defense played him really tough, so I'd expect it to happen again. It's just that, again, the Renegades defense is a little bit better than it was back when they played each other, and again, the Brahmas offense is going to be question marks. But in truth, I expect Dormady to play, do terribly, get benched, Kevin Hogan come in, the Renegades choke another lead, and then the Brahmas win probably on a last-second field goal. Just watch that happen. I mean, it just has that feeling. I mean, maybe Dormady ends up, playing well in this ages badly. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think everybody can agree, even Brahmas fans, that starting Dormady over Kevin Hogan is one of the dumbest decisions you could do at this point. Again, maybe it ages poorly, but, I mean, there's no reason to say it won't. And even then, even if Dormady plays well against the Renegades, it still is the Renegades defense, who, playing better, is just not allowing 30 points a game. So it's not even that impressive if Dormady has a good game against Arlington, because, again, it is Arlington. So it is what it is. I have the Brahmas still winning, but if they lose this game, it is almost entirely on Wade and AJ, and it'd be very, very... And I mean, it basically, again, just like St. Louis, this is one of those games where if you lose it mentally, you're over. I mean, it just is. In fact, I'm being dead serious. If both St. Louis and San Antonio lose this week, I would not be shocked if DC pulls off, just grabs a rabbit out of their hat and just goes right to the championship game by somehow making the playoffs. I wouldn't be. Granted, I don't have DC winning. I don't have Arlington winning. But if San Antonio loses, if St. Louis loses, don't be shocked if DC makes a run to the playoffs and potentially beats either of those two teams in that conference championship game, just because of the fact that the Brahmas and Battlehawks would be like, wow, we really are choking this bad. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but if St. Louis, if San Antonio lose, DC's got a good shot, but we'll see. Now, overall record for this year so far, again, it's been really good, and this past week was incredible. Now, we had 2 separate spreads actually hit the push, believe it or not. It's like they always say, Vegas knows. But overall, we're actually back in the green in spread. We were 2-0, and the ones we, actually did happen at 13-12 now. The over-under, again, we're up to 17-10, and moneyline 19-9. We had another perfect game this past week, and a couple others that were really close. So yes, as you can see here, the overall records for this year have been incredible. If you were here, last year, the year before, it was more about 500-ish, below 500. But so far this year, I mean, it's been insane overall just how good the picks have been. We haven't had a perfect team score prediction in a while. We had a lot close and all that. But in terms of getting another game betting prediction right after not having any for weeks, and then having now 3 in the past 2 weeks, and getting as much as we did right, I mean, again, 13-12, 17-10, 19-9, those are really, really solid numbers. So, I mean, even if you were to count the pushes as losses, that's still, 13-15, 17-11, 19-9. So, I mean, it's incredible. And so, with that being said, that'll do it. This has been ZomFox. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Make sure to comment down below what you think, who are your picks for this week and all that. I will not be streaming this weekend. I have stuff going on that will not be allowing me to do it, as if there was a game at 12 p.m. tomorrow, I would be able to, but there's not, so I'm not. But I do have a community poll coming out earlier today to vote on which game I'll stream next week. And I will be streaming the USFL Conference Championship game, considering the fact that, I mean, the Panthers are in it. It's on a 3 p.m. Saturday, so I'll be free then. So that'll happen in a few weeks. And again, I will post ticket information about where I'll be sitting at the championship game whenever they come out. All that. And if you've been a fan here for a while, think about becoming a channel member and supporting the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. I do an exclusive monthly video. You get exclusive community posts as well, usually sneak peeks to videos, sometimes other things, channel emojis and other stuff. And as always, have a great night.